See, our God is a king. He reigns. Even in death, he reigns. There is nothing that can stop God. He is all powerful. And when you know that you are in a relationship with the all powerful God, nothing will scare you anymore. See, Christians don't have faith. Christians don't have assurance because they think God is like the president of their country that is not reliable. They think God is like the president of their country that certain things can overwhelm him. Our God is omnipotent. Nothing can overpower him. If God tells you it is done, it is done. That is how it is. That's the one we are dealing with. And then number 6, he is omniscient. That means he knows all things. God cannot learn. It's impossible to teach God because he has all knowledge. And he doesn't just have all knowledge, he has all knowledge at all times in all things. So there is nothing happening that takes God unawares. This is why even your prayer is not the lingo that affects God's realm. Before you spoke, he knows what's in your mind. It's your faith that makes your prayer powerful. You know, some people come to pray, they think they have not convinced God enough. And they reduce the quality and potency of their prayer to grammar. That's not what makes the difference. If you know that God knows before you ask, you will have rest even while you are yet asking. And when you are done asking, you know that even the one you didn't ask is covered because he is omniscient. And he's not just omniscient, he is omnipresent. That means he is everywhere at every time in every time. And I wish I'm able to explain that to you in simple terms. God is everywhere now. If that was all, that would have been powerful enough. But that's not all. God is still in everywhere in every time. At every time is different from in every time. At every time means in the present. So in the whole of today, you can say God has always been around in every time. But when you now discover that God is not just at every time, but in every time, what it means is that God is still in yesterday. You have left yesterday, God is still in yesterday. And you have not entered tomorrow, God is already in tomorrow. That's omnipresent. He is still in yesterday. If he leaves yesterday, creation will collapse. Because if yesterday is removed from the equation, the earth can't sustain. Creation can't sustain. So the reason you are sure of tomorrow is because you have yesterday. And the reason yesterday still remains yesterday is because God is still there. So for God, everything is now. That's why you can trust him with your future. That's why you can trust him with the future of your children. Because you are the one who has a future. God has no future. His future and his past is now. He's in every moment now. Everything for him is a perpetual continuum. That's the one we are serving. So this is what makes him God. And there's no other being that has these qualities. Only God possesses these qualities. And this is why we call him God. And all of the things I've enumerated here are just his essential attributes. He also has moral attributes. And I give you 4 of them very quickly. Number 1, God is holy. And holiness means he is in his own class. There's nothing that can come into that class. God cannot share that realm with anybody. And because of that, he is incorruptible. Because there is no foreign or alien reality in his reality. So where God is undefilable. Where God is sinless. Where God is in his own class. So when God does things, you know that God has done it. You can't mistake it. He's a holy God. He has the power to dwell in his realm, uncontaminable. And he's not just holy, he is also righteous, absolutely righteous. And righteousness is not sinlessness. Righteousness is the ability to be right at all times, in all times. And so what that means is that righteousness is not just ability to be accurate. Righteousness is a power. You know why? As we are seated here, you think you are wearing a blue suit. If God looks at you and says your white suit is fine, if you look at your suit, you'll be shocked that it's white. You'll be surprised that you never knew the color since you bought it. So he doesn't just have all the information that makes him accurate. He has the power so that anything he says is so. That's the meaning of righteousness. That's why God cannot lie. Because anything God says becomes true. It is a power that is with God and it's called righteousness. And that's not all. God is also love. In 1 John chapter 4 verse 8, the Bible says God is love. It's on the strength of the fact that God is love that we can relate with him. Because the love of God is not emotion. Emotion is part of it. But the love of God is the ability God has to give himself unconditionally. This is why even while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5 verse 8. So you don't qualify for God's love. You don't deserve God's love. He loves you unconditionally. And so Jesus told us to come boldly before the throne of grace and obtain mercy. The reason whether we are living right or living wrong, we still go to God is because of his love. Because his love creates accommodation for everybody to come and receive help. You see, but many Christians don't know the love of God. That's why they think they have merit with God, and they only come to God when they are right. When they are wrong, they feel, they have lost their right. They have lost their standing. Brother, it's when you are wrong that you need God the most. And his love creates an accommodation to help you. I'm telling you this because this is the foundation of quality Christianity. Most of you can't ask God for things. You know why? You feel you don't have some qualification. If I was an apostle, maybe I would have made that demand. If I was a prophet, maybe I would have made that demand. In fact, some of you are happy today because you say, oh, if this is the apostle, my problem is over. What you didn't know is that I have no power to solve your problem. The one that has power to solve your problem has always been with you in your bedroom. But the thing is that you didn't know that his love already opened the door to give you everything you ask. In fact, the way the love of God works is that even the things we didn't qualify for, he made it our right, so that we don't have to beg. He said, as many as believed him, to them, he didn't say he gave the privilege to become the sons of God. He said to them, he gave the right. So what we should beg for, God doesn't want us to beg. He wants us to demand it as if it's our right. That's how the love of God works. So that every one of us will operate like a king on earth. So when I make declaration with boldness, I'm not saying it because I'm special. I'm saying it because there is a love that has arrested me. And that love will give me anything I desire. That's why Paul, speaking in Romans 8:32, he said, if he did not withhold his only begotten son, but gave him freely for us, how shall he not with him give us all things? The day you know the love of God, your crises are over. Because you can ask for anything. I told my people, I say, I will never do small things in my life again. Because I discovered God has given me his best and is willing to give me any other thing. And so if God is willing to give me anything I ask, I better ask for the best and the best only. Because that's what God gives. But all of that is routed into the love nature of God. And that's not all. God is faithful. God is dependable. God is trustworthy. That's the fourth moral attribute of God. And so there are essential attributes. There are moral attributes. And then there is the office of God. The office of God is where God sits, that only him sits. And that's what makes him deity. And there are two major things about his offices. Number one, he's creator. Only God has the power to create everything from nothing. When God created the world, there was no raw material. Every other person is either inventing or forming. Only God is creator. An inventor will use raw materials from creation. A man who forms will use raw materials, but a creator does not need raw material. He just looks and says, light appear. You don't know where the raw material is. He says, water come forth. You don't know where the raw material. He doesn't need raw material. He produces both the raw material and the finished goods. That's why he's called creator. He said, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1 verse 1. Hebrews chapter 1 from verse 1 to 3. It said, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. By it the elders obtained a good report. It's a true faith we understand that the worlds were framed from the word of God, and the things which are were not made out of the things which do appear. So God is creator. You know what that means to you? Even if you don't have a womb, you can have a child. Even if you don't have a liver, you will not die. If they told you your kidney has been destroyed, God can put another one there. He's creator. So if you don't know him in these offices, you can't maximize him. This is why most of us, it has become religion. So we come to church on Sunday, we dance to good music, and that is all. We don't know the one we are dealing with. Jesus was talking to the Samaritan. He said, you worship what you know not. He said, but we know who we worship. When you find Christians crying, trace it. The problem is not what they are crying for. The problem is their ignorance. My people perish for the lack of knowledge. If my God is creator, that means nothing can be lost in my life. Because if it is lost, he can create it again. That's why when the earth was destroyed, he came and recreated it. I'm the creator, I can create it again. And that's an office that only God occupies. And then number two, what the office he occupies is that he is a life giver. Only God is author of life. That means with him nothing dies. This is why Jesus said when he came to Lazarus' tomb in John 11, he said, I am the resurrection and the life. He said, they that believe in me will live and will never die. And he said, even if they were dead, they will live again. That means I author life. Nothing dies with me. Now the question is, if the author of life is your God, how will your business fail? How will your health fail? How will your ministry fail? Because what you need to function is life. And then you are connected to the one who is the author of everlasting life. So anything in your life that is dying, all you need to do is to connect the life of God to it. And you will see that that thing will be resurrected even if it was dead. This is the secret we understand that make us talk to the sick and they are healed. And I can tell you, there's no week I don't see the sick healed. There's no week. 3 days ago, we came back from Asaba. Tumors were disappearing from people's body. Not because I'm a special person. There is something I know and believe. We saw old women who were blind, eyes were opening. People who couldn't walk stood up and began to walk. And this has become our normal everyday reality. Not because we carry one bank of power somewhere. No, we know the author of life. If your eyes are dying, there's a life that can be injected. If your body is dying, there's a life that can be injected. If your business is dying, there's a life that can be injected. But you need to know that the foundation of that life is not you, it's the one you are connected to. It's on this wise that we glorify God. In 1 minute, can we glorify God here? Elohim Adonai.